Right, what we've got here is a bit of a product review on the Alclad 2's lacquer paints. Now what these are, they're lacquer based, okay, and they're basically metallizer paints for doing all those natural nice metal finishes. And these paints are actually, you know, really good for doing those natural metal finishes. I'm basically going to be focusing on Alclads 2, but I'm going to bring up all of the kind of metallizer paints as well, just to kind of give you an idea which one's best and which one's not. Now these paints are quite expensive. I mean, you are talking £5 a bottle. Okay, so you know it's not gonna be cheap. I mean, you do get 30 mils in each bottle, but because it's so thin, although it might seem like, oh yeah, you get 30 mils, it really does go down fast because it's so thin. So you know, quite expensive stuff. They have got quite a massive range of all different metal colours and everything, so you know there's quite a broad range, which is what I do like about these. Although some metallizer paints may be better in other ways to the Alclads 2, the Alclads 2 paints really do have that massive range to kind of get that colour that you want. So that's one biggie about the Alclads 2. Now I'm gonna start by using a colour that I do like using, okay, and that is polished aluminium. Now you do need to make sure you give these a shake. They've got like a little ball bearing inside, as you can hear. Okay, and what you need to do is make sure that, because what happens is all the little bits inside this paint, really tiny little bits, they all kind of, you probably could see it actually if I show you. See at the bottom here, you've got this kind of layer of what looks more silver, and then it kind of goes a bit darker. Well, that's all the little bits going to the bottom, so you've got to make sure you shake it up and get all those bits off the bottom, okay, and you kind of, basically what you want to do is have this kind of thing where you can actually see the bottom, okay. If you kind of tip it up, okay, you want to be able to see the bottom, okay. The next thing is as well, get your PSI to about 10, maybe 15, 10 PSI, that kind of range, okay, so it's quite low. Okay, and what I've done is to kind of experiment and just show you. I have got a bit of an old Eurofighter fuselage here, okay, and what I've done is I've sprayed one bit, okay, with a light aircraft grey basically, and I've left it matte. I've then sprayed one bit black, okay, and left it matte. Then I've got another piece here which is black, but I've put a gloss on it, okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to find out, you know, what the difference is with having a primer down, okay. So gonna get our polished aluminium, which is ALC 105, okay. We've mixed that up. Now you want to have a kitchen paper towel on standby with this stuff, okay, because it's so thin, okay, it just doesn't seem to go into your colour cup that well, okay, because once you've quickly poured it in, you can pretty much guarantee, as you can see, it's just gone right down the side every single time. It just goes down the side of your colour cup, and you need to quickly wipe that up, okay. And I'll just put my airbrush aside one sec. And then you're probably going to have the same thing with your lid. And the other thing is as well, this stuff is expensive, as I've just said, and because it's so thin, it evaporates like there's no tomorrow. So get that lid back on, okay, or you'll be literally watching your money evaporate away, okay. So we've got a low air pressure, 10 psi, okay. We've poured it in our colour cup here, and that's another thing as well, sorry, make sure that your airbrush is clean, okay, because we're going, because I use a lot of acrylic paints, okay, basically a lot of acrylic goes through my airbrush, so you want to make sure that you know, your airbrush is clean, because we put in acrylics through it. And then once you're finished with these lacquer based paints, okay, you kind of want to make sure it's properly clean, okay, for when you go back to using acrylics, because they can kind of contaminate up and kind of do all sorts of funny things, you know, it can do. Okay, so nice low air pressure, and what we're going to do, I'm just going to spray all over here a nice first coat, okay, like so, a nice coat all over, okay. And you know, I think you're going to be able to tell quite a bit of a difference, okay. We've just put in that first coat down, okay, that first one coat, okay. It needs a bit more coverage, okay, but by looking at what we've got here, which was, you know, a grey primer, then a black primer, and then a shiny glossed up black primer, I mean, you really can tell the difference, okay, with a glossy black primer. I don't know how well you can see it on camera, because when it comes to shiny stuff and cameras, they don't seem to mix, but I'm looking at this now and I'm seeing a whopping massive difference, okay. I can actually see that. The one thing as well is I did paintbrush on the gloss onto our black just here, and you can really see the brush strokes, which does kind of show that these metallic metallizer paints are really going to show up any imperfections, okay. So you really do want to be careful there, because I am really seeing every imperfection with these paints, okay. So make sure your work's nicely neat, you know, no hairs, no lumps, no bumps or anything like that, because it really does show up. However, spraying it on a glossy surface really does make that look proper nice and realistic shiny. So I'm going to put on a second coat now. Okay, just going to give it some nice kind of coverage here. Okay, and that's got a nice coat on there now. Okay, and looking at it, okay, I must say, putting a gloss coat on when in the priming stage really does bring it out a heat load. I really don't know if you can see that, but it really does make a huge difference, okay. As I say, I don't know how well you can see it, but there is a huge difference here with the gloss. Sorry, let's get you back on camera. There is a huge difference between putting a gloss primer down and leaving it matte. As for like the difference between black and a grey, not huge, okay. In some ways I'm kind of thinking that a grey primer is almost looking better than our black primer, to be honest. But when you put that gloss on, it really does make a huge difference, and you really do get that realistic, nice looking kind of natural metal finish, okay. But another test that needs to be done, okay, because when using metallizer paints, okay, the one big downside to any kind of real metallizer paint really is the whole masking side of it, okay. This looks all nice and fancy and dancy all now and everything. In fact, that's one of the tests actually I should probably do. So I'm going to go quickly off camera and I'm going to prep up for this next couple of tests. Right, what I've just done off camera, prepping this up for some more tests, is I've just put a bit of Tamiya masking tape, okay, right down the middle, okay. So on the top here has been left as it was, okay, and on the bottom, okay, we sprayed on a bit of a gloss coat on top of our Alclads paints here, okay. And what we're looking for here is this nasty thing that happens with literally all metallic metallizer paints, and that is, okay, you lose that natural kind of metal finish, okay. So I don't know how well you can see it on camera, okay, but whenever you put a gloss coat on top of natural metal finish paints, what happens is it seems to dull down that natural metal finish look, okay, that you get from natural metallizer paints, okay, which is a bit of a shame, right? Because, you know, you're losing that look that you want a little bit, but I don't really think you can get around it, okay, because once you've done your spray job, okay, you want to seal in your spray job to protect it, okay, because these paints are quite delicate as well, so you want to get a protective coat down. And the other thing is, you want a protective coat down for when you put your decals down, and then once your decals are down, you want to seal in your decals to protect them for when you do the weathering stage, okay? So you've kind of got to put down these protective gloss coats. So it's a bit of a shame that it does take away that nice natural metal finish away from, you know, the paintwork they've just put down. So that's a bit of a shame, but that is kind of expected of all metallizer paints, really. However, you know, that is if you want to do like a whole aircraft, but when it comes to stuff like exhausts, okay, you can leave them right to the end. You can use your your Alclads metallizer paints, okay, and because you've done it right at the end, okay, there's no need to put a gloss coat on top, okay, so you can leave it that real nice natural metal finish. And you probably can't see this on camera, but there is a difference between the top and the bottom. You've just got that nice kind of natural metal look on top, a bit more than what you have on the bottom, okay. The next test is the really annoying test, okay. First time you ever do metallizer paints on an all over aircraft, okay, the thing that's going to annoy you is when you come along and do some masking, okay, because these things just rip up like there's no tomorrow, okay. Well, a lot, shall we say, I know, I'll just bring them out actually. We've got some model master paints, okay. Once you sprayed these down, okay, it doesn't matter how many coats of gloss you put on top, right, come along with some masking tape and it's going to rip it up like there's no tomorrow, and it is going to annoy you to hell, okay. That's one. And I think I can't remember actually, the Mr. Meta colour range, I know once you've buffed these up and then you put a gloss coat on top, okay, it really takes away that nice natural metal finish that you've just buffed up, okay, you know, more so than Alclads. And I can't remember if they did kind of when you come along with, I'll have to kind of look into that one of the times, okay, but we're going to test this out and see, you know, what it's like when we come along with masking tape, okay. Now normally, okay, you're gonna want to be coming along, okay, and maybe on the back of your hand making, you know, the masking tape a little less tacky, okay, a little less sticky, okay, so that you don't get peel backs. But for this experiment, you know, I want to just go straight in neat, okay, and just slap it straight on, put it right down, and let's just see, okay, how this holds up. Okay, and let's just see how good and how strong and how durable this paint is, okay. So just going to rip it off, no messing about, okay, and I am seeing, okay, a little bit of paint on the end of this masking tape. I don't know if you can see it. It's, I think that is the top part. I think the gloss coat has actually sealed that in, okay. Let's try this one. Get this off my finger, okay, rip that up, okay, and yet again, I mean, I'm seeing the top half of this masking tape, there is a light, okay, and I'm talking light, a light amount of the metallizer paint that's come up. I mean, I can't actually see it on the model for both of these, but where we haven't protected it with the gloss coat, okay, it's coming up a little bit, okay, on the masking tape, okay, and we're talking like, it's not actually peeled it up, okay, it's just got little kind of dust particles maybe of the metallizer paint come up on the masking tape, and we'll just try the last one. Okay, and that one's actually come up a lot more than the rest, okay, as you might see, okay. And it's always the top part, okay, it's always the top part where you haven't protected it with the gloss coat, okay. So, to sum up that little test, okay, basically you put a gloss coat on top of your your Alclads metallizer paint, okay, and it's all good, you know, you can mask it up, no problem. If you don't put a gloss coat on top, okay, you get that nicer looking metal finish, but it's gonna slightly come up you're slightly going to pull up your paint a bit, and we're not talking coming along and peeling it up, okay, we're talking it seems to leave little kind of particles or leftover bits or something that just seems to kind of not necessarily ruin your paintwork, because I mean, as you can see, I mean, it's still looking good here, it's just it pulls up little particles off it, okay, and it's not doing major damage, but something's coming up off it, okay. So I mean, there's a nice bunch of experiments, okay, just to kind of show you the whole Alclads 2 paints and how to use them, how much they cost. You know, you got to remember, you know, we're talking lacquer based paints here, okay, you know, you want to have your gas masks on, extractor fans on, all that kind of stuff. So are they worth it? To sum it up, I've got to say they are definitely worth it, you know, because of this whole experiment of the masking tape, okay. They are really kind of nicely durable metallizer paints. As I say, you know, your model master paints, God, they rip up like there's no tomorrow. I can't remember about the Mr. Metal paints. I think with the Mr. Metal paints, if I remember correctly, the Mr. Metal paints was they don't rip up until you put a gloss coat on top, and when you put a gloss coat on top, it seems to rip up the gloss but not the actual Mr. Metal paint, and it just looks a bit weird. I'll have to double check, don't hold me to that, but I think there is something to the whole peeling up with the Mr. Metal colour range. The Citadel natural metal paints actually are really good. They're much more, you know, harmless as well. They're more water based, you know, and they go on really quite nice. I wouldn't say they're maybe as good looking as the Alclad paints. I mean, these do look a lot more kind of natural when they haven't got a gloss coat on, you know, but the Citadel paint range, really nice, durable, you know, nice and easy to use, you know, good for doing all over because they're just easy to use and easy to mask up and everything. You know, but these are still good if you want to take it to that next step up, shall I say. Are a bit tricky to use, you know. I mean, you know, you knock it a bit here and a scratch here, you know, they can kind of scratch a bit, but they're definitely recommended. Expensive, but you know, this is what the price you kind of pay for something, you know, that really nice looking paint. And I must say, you know, you really can tell the difference when you put a black glossy primer down. It really does make a difference, but you've got to be careful with your work because as I say, I mean, I brush painted a gloss coat on here and you can see those brush strokes like there's no tomorrow. You've got to be nice and neat and tidy with these paints. So I hope you've enjoyed that and it's been all nice and informative for you.